Hi everyone, that's meteorologist Joel Curtis with your aviation weather for July the 25th, 2023, and with planning forecasts for this coming Wednesday and this coming Thursday. I've got something amazing to show to you. Get a load of yesterday's lightning. Over 20,000 strikes, including the ones that are registered in Canada. This is courtesy of the Alaska Interagency Coordination Center. And just what a cluster of strikes. I mean, this was a good lightning day and by any standards for Alaska. And then get a load of this. This is already going from 6 a.m. this morning to 10 a.m. and we're not even to our maximum solar heating. So let's see if we can see some of those cells on the satellite loop. First, we've got a low system out here in the Bering Sea. And then we've got these clusters of cells that are across the mainland. And then right behind me here is a little low that's weakening and getting the heck out of here. So there was our clusters, and now you take a look, and we've got some south of Fairbanks coming off the Alaska Range, also over by Northway, and then the Brooks Range looks like a little bit of cloud cover going in there too. So for our flying weather Wednesday morning, starting out, we've got IFR offshore for the North Slope, as well as marginal VFR right along the beach. Down through the Bering Strait for the marginal VFR, got some IFR as you get further out, including the Pribilofs, the central Aleutians, much of the western Aleutians, a little bit of marginal VFR out there. Looks like marginal VFR for Bristol Bay out over the water. Also some marginal VFR up by the North Slope, the northern Gulf Coast, IFR southern Kodiak Island, the southern end of the peninsula. We've also got some IFR low clouds and fog out over the Gulf. And then you can see that at least the mountainous parts of southeast have got IFR and then marginal VFR for the rest of the Panhandle. Looking toward the next day, in Wednesday afternoon, lifted up to marginal VFR for most of the Panhandle. We also see that still some IFR over the central and western Gulf up to Kodiak Island. Massive area of thunderstorms for the mainland portion of the state. Also some IFR off the coast for the North Slope. Marginal VFR along the beach. And then as we get down to southwestern Alaska, a good deal of marginal VFR and precipitation. And then we have IFR out over the Bering Sea. And then looking at Thursday morning, what we've got is IFR again over the Bering Sea, but some marginal VFR that's crept up to the Pribilofs, including Bristol Bay, inland on the southwest coast, and then on up the Seward Peninsula. Marginal VFR along the North Slope coastline. Marginal VFR for much of the Panhandle, a few areas of IFR for the Panhandle, and then IFR for the central Gulf Coast, including Yakutat area, and then down south of Kodiak Island. And then for Thursday afternoon, again, extensive thunderstorms over mainland Alaska. We've got IFR off the coast, the usual spots, marginal VFR all down through the North Slope, through the Bering Strait, Seward Peninsula, down to southwestern Alaska, a little bit of IFR that's onshore, IFR south of the Alaska Peninsula, a little bit out in the Gulf, and marginal VFR up against the coast for southeast. So now let's do our passes. Again, thunderstorms was really the big story for the passes because most of them were VFR. Anatovik, VFR with thunderstorms. Adigan, VFR with thunderstorms. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR in the morning, becoming VFR, and then we've got some cells probably to the north, might be in a little bit there, but keep an eye open if you're going through those. Rainy VFR with thunderstorms, windy VFR with thunderstorms, Isabel Pass VFR with thunderstorms, Mentasta Pass VFR with thunderstorms. Tahitna Pass, marginal VFR with thunderstorms. Portage Pass, VFR in the morning, becoming marginal VFR in the afternoon, and some buildups to the north. For Chilkoot and White Pass, IFR in the morning, becoming marginal VFR, and thunderstorms in British Columbia, Yukon Territory, and then of course on over to Alaska. So for our freezing levels on Wednesday morning, it's almost a carbon copy of what we had yesterday, about 12,000 feet over the central interior, dropping off a little bit as you get a little further south, and then up to 12,000 feet again, 10,000 feet along the west coast, 10,000 feet for most of the panhandle, and then as you get in those two low pressure systems, drops down to about 8,000 feet. For our icing on Wednesday, we've got kind of a broad area of isolated moderate, stretching down from the Bering Strait to the southern part of Kodiak Island, across Bristol Bay, and a couple of areas within that of considerable moderate. Those icing levels are 10,000 to 14,000 feet, and then we have one little area out over the Gulf, if you're making that shortcut, 12,000 to flight level 180. Also an important note, considerable moderate icing in the cells. No fun. So again, more like you really got to avoid these thunderstorms. And then for our jet stream, not much going on at the very high level, ranging from about 35 up to 65 knots up through the Bering Strait. Then we have a little bit of a jet across the western Aleutians up to about 70 knots or so. For a 9,000 foot winds, about 40 knots from anywhere from about Nunivak Island on up into the Chukchi Sea, 35 knot westerlies over the Aleutians. And then for 3,000 foot winds, wind tapering off over the Aleutians in the afternoon. We've got 35 knots from about Nunivak Island on up to into the Chukchi Sea, and that's what's causing those areas of turbulence up in there. We've got a couple of areas right along the headlands of the Seward Peninsula, and also from Monic down to about Nunivak Island, considerable moderate, surface to 5,000 feet due to those 35 knot winds at the low level. And then we have isolated moderate over St. Lawrence Island, down through the Pribilofs, and then for the western Aleutians. And the final note I want to leave you with about turbulence is thunderstorms may have considerable moderate and isolated severe in the cells. So please file a flight plan. Fly safe out there. We've got a lot of turbulent weather with those cells that's going on out there. So thanks for listening.